Hello and welcome to Tea Leaf Readings. My name is Lenor and today I'm going to be reading your tea leaves. This is a horoscope for Sagittarius. If Sagittarius is your solar, lunar, ascendant / rising sign, then this is a message for you. Okay, let's get started. Okay, and let's see, what do these tea leaves have to say today? My goodness, we have somebody, immediately I see, we have somebody riding it looks like a horse. Some kind of horse there. All right, let's keep going. Let's look at this before we get into what is going on exactly. And our card for today is the Magician. Okay, one of my favorite archetypes. I know I say that a lot, but I do like, I like it. I like the archetype of the world creator, somebody who really has their, kind of hands in building the systems. Really working on that interior world, their perceptions, bringing things into the material, creating the life that they want, and following their will, right? All right, let's see. Okay, so we do have we have the person on the horse, okay? And I feel like a sense of really, taking the perception of control of things in your immediate life. I do have the feeling that you have kind of stepped outside of your normal routine. Your schedule has been altered to some degree. I think that this was difficult at first, but I do think that you have found an element of power and inspiration, kind of breaking that, just the tedium of doing the same things all the time. Which, some of us are pretty good at that. Some of us are pretty good. I personally, vacillate between loving chaos and loving a schedule. So, I think that really there was just there was a feeling of maybe getting stuck, stagnant, losing interest in some of the things you were doing. So I know, as we talked about at least a couple of readings ago, kind of just finding little parts of your life to switch around, even if that is like changing the way that you come home from work. It doesn't have to be a huge shift. You don't have to move across the country or, start a new job or something like that. But I do think that just kind of changing things a little bit, being flexible in your own life, okay? And, with the Magician card, I feel that although there is a lot of emphasis on order, consistency, ritual, just being kind of very much married to the work, doing the thing, even if you don't want to do it. I think that it also, you have to have room to be able to alter things a bit, right? The dedication to doing the things that kind of build up the foundation to go further into into the esoteric, magical, occult, divination, self-work, whatever it is. These things are important. These are things like keeping a schedule, minimizing stimuli in your life, being mindful of the people that you have in your life, the things that you're ingesting as far as like media. Well, it could be food and everything else like that as well. But, now we don't all have to be, very, it depends, right, on what you're doing. We don't all have to be a monk, basically. But for some people that works, right? And sometimes these are very rigid schedules, ways to live. And that's what upholds that greater interior work, that greater magical work, being able to access those parts of the universe that otherwise would be pretty difficult to get into. Now, I think that there are many ways to do this, a lot of different styles. I think often of, what is his name? He wrote the 7 Rings, I think it's called. He was a, what's it, Kung Fu? Now I'm just totally, I have his book. But anyways, he created a form of, kind of a formless form of fighting, right? And I think his name is Michimi. I don't know. I'm so bad with names. But basically, and I know about this because I'm really into like rap music and like anime and stuff. So I have his books. And so it's kind of this idea of disrupting the order, right? And that is how you come into these battles that are, really regimented, and there's all of this philosophy and stylization and form to the techniques of fighting, the schools of fighting. And so then this is all about kind of coming in as chaos, is really with that Eris energy. And I think somewhere in between, I think that you're just disrupting the order of things in your own life a little bit, right? Figuring out how can you get out of the cycle that feels very gray at times, colorless, right? And get back into that creative flow. Well, I think that is being achieved because I do see, with the magician energy that you are going to be in this creative posture, right? And so we have the heart, as we turn it, this large heart. It looks like 2 people coming together. This could be divine union. This could be literally 2 physical people, 2, manifested beings coming together. What really stands out to me, though, is that we have the flower. We also have a person who is on their knees. I feel like this is the kind of love that really does bring you to your knees. It really feels so all-consuming. And now, again, if this is kind of the interior beloved, that unification of the opposites, the chemical wedding, kind of the courtship of the anima animus, finding your spiritual consort within yourself. Or if this is really, truly, having a moment within a relationship, or, coming to know somebody that you feel, profoundly drawn to. you know, that can be very powerful. Is that always sustainable? I don't know. You know, I've been trying to be more open-minded about some of these some of these love-centric movements. I think that myself, I am very much a practitioner of the love path, okay, but more centered around agape, not as concerned about manifesting that in the physical world, but I also am somebody who likes to go deep into the interior. That is where I feel comfortable in my dream work and personal work, and probably why I'm a solitary practitioner. But you know, that's not to say that I have not found great love in my life. Of course, I have a beautiful family, but I am trying to be more open-minded because I know that so many people, even here that watch these videos, are quite moved by these movements of soulmates and other things. You know, finding your beloved in the corporeal form. And so, or manifesting them, I guess. I don't know. But let's see. So I think that this is possible, probably. Is it realistic? I don't know. But I do know that we can have moments where the divine is very much awake in our partnership, in our togetherness with a person, another being. I think that it is very likely that there are elements of the beloved that live within our relationships. I do not necessarily think that it is fair or righteous to kind of put that on somebody else, right? I think that all things wax and wane, right? And they change. And it is often mostly about, I think all things in the physical world, about working with what you have, right? Not trying to search for a fixed state of anything. And so really the joy is in when we do find those moments where we come back together, and that expression of the divine is within our, not only romantic, but our family relationships, our friend relationships, the people that we meet out in the world. We might have a passing moment with them, right? And it is hard to say that this is not a divine interaction because it is so moving, and there is such a deep, you know, a connection with that spark, right? It feels different than most other things. I think also the work is in not trying to behold these for too long, right? Because that's really so much of what I think the teachings are, that when we covet something, when we hold on to it too tight, we snuff out that flame. Okay, so trying to live in a place of unattached attachment, right? And being grateful for those moments where it does come together. And I do feel, Sagittarius, that this is a time where you really are experiencing that awe, right? That beautiful, dreamy enchantment, entanglement, and this can be very empowering. It can be all all enthralling and encompassing, I should say, encompassing. And so very enthralling. And so this is a good time. This is a beautiful time. And as we turn this way, we see a person sitting here. It looks like they have a roof over their head, and they're sitting, and I see them. It looks as though they are maybe writing something. Maybe they are typing something, but whatever they are doing, it seems as though there's a sense of creating with the energies we have. This is in that metaphysical place. This is in the emotional place. Immediately what comes to mind here is maybe something like automatic writing, maybe some kind of scrying. You know, maybe you do some kind of divination yourself. This is a very good time. Things are aligned in such a way where I think that you are open and receptive to the messages of the universe, of the beloved. And I think that you should spend some time doing that, whatever that looks like. If you use, you know, a lot of people use tarot cards. I try a little bit. I do my own tarot readings every day. I am not good at it like my like my husband. He is amazing. You know, but it's not something that I feel as connected with as, like, say, tea leaf reading, grains, you know, just kind of looking into natural occurring patterns, right? I like to scry things. I like to look for symbols in things. They speak to me. It speaks to me in that way. The universe and the divine and, you know, whatever else, my personal pantheon. And so, you know, you could be doing anything. Another thing that I really do like, I love oracle cards. They speak to me a little more. I shouldn't say I'm not good at tarot. I don't know. I think I'm good, not as great at memorizing things. So I'm constantly looking things up. And that's where I run into a little bit of frustration. But another thing I like doing is just writing down phrases and picking them out. You know, kind of, if you've ever heard of like cut up poetry, it's something that I learned from being a big Bob Dylan and William Burroughs fan, both of whom use cut up to write poetry books, but also, you know, just write very interesting things, songs, and I don't know if Burroughs did whole novels, but I know he did implement cut up, which is basically where they would go through newspapers and other books, and they would cut out words and phrases, and then they would reassemble them into something else, another, you know, whatever their construction was. And this, you know, both actually have said in interviews, of course, William Burroughs is transitioned, but had said that this is something that he felt was the muse, right? Divinely inspired. That he, you know, sometimes did not know where his, you know, how he would put those things together. They just came together sometimes. And he was kind of the conduit of moving them around and taping them down. So, you know, kind of a word collage. And if you are, maybe they still have them, but if you're older like me, I remember some years ago, maybe 20 years ago, my goodness, there was a big fad. I remember I got them at a bookstore, and they were magnets, and they would have words and phrases, and you could do your own kind of magnet poetry on the refrigerator or whatever. And this is kind of the similar thing. So maybe this is a good way for you to do some divination as well. Kind of fun, kind of interesting, doesn't feel as serious all the time. but definitely a worthwhile endeavor if you have some time to, even just writing it down yourself, or going through the ads that come in the news or come in the mail, or if you have I don't know if people still buy magazines, but you could do magazines or the local newspaper or whatever. And so let's see, what else do we have? Okay, so we have the Empress here. Okay, and below we have this entry. Immediately I was thinking this looks like a knight, okay, of some kind. So I feel like there's some aspect, and this is in the emotional zone here, where you are really kind of implementing your intention upon yourself. I feel like you are really bringing different parts of your life together, and they're mingling more. Where I think before, quite often you would really compartmentalize. Maybe like your work life with your personal life, it was more manageable this way. Or maybe like your friend's life with your family life, you didn't really, let that cross over too much. But I do think that there is a sense of a lot of power in your being. I think that in this last year, you've made some big decisions about how you want to live, how you want to exist with other people, and basically who you're going to let into your private life. That's a big thing, where you're going to spend your time. Now, I think that a lot of this work has led you to feel more comfortable to let these different parts of existence kind of mingle into one another. And I feel like you have a very kind of commanding force over yourself. Now, I also see, and I think that we look at this with the knight, and I think, of course, chivalry, having this kind of code of conduct. I think that you have been very mindful about how you speak to people, but more importantly, how do you speak to yourself? How are you treating yourself? What kind of, honoring oneself, showing up for yourself, advocating for yourself, keeping those boundaries or walls safe and secure. And that's really that knight energy there. Really abiding the things that you have decided for yourself, and not kind of bending when somebody pushes you. Okay. And so I think this has set you up for a lot more confidence, a lot more. And I think we get into these places in our lives where, we've decided we're not going to put up with certain behaviors, certain kinds of things. We don't care for people to talk to us certain ways. And, hopefully we are showing that energy through the way that we exist, how we treat other people, how, not infringing on other people's boundaries and so on. And so, you get to a point where you just have people in your life that you love and trust. For me, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, my life was chaotic with people. People I loved and cared about, or love and care about. Some of them are still around. Just my energy was way off. How I was living was way off. And I felt the need to keep people very separate in my life, because they were very different worlds, and I was always worried about the interactions and, what people would think and this and that and that. Well, as I went through my process of changing and healing and, recovery and all these things, I definitely feel like there's nobody in my life who I wouldn't have around each other, right? There's only people in my life that I see in real life directly who I consider part of my private life, there's none of them that I would feel like I can't bring this person somewhere, or I'd be afraid to have them together or whatever. And it's such a different energy altogether. And that's, it's because you become more discerning. You become way more protective of your peace, of your energies, of the energies of your direct family. And of course, I have a child, and that's a big thing too. I'm very, maybe almost a little bit, too cautious. But then again, in this world, how could you be really? So, I think that it's something that it's a work that has to continue. Okay. We always have to keep an eye on things and change and try to be flexible. But, keep those, that clear, kind of our own little personal mission statement in life, right? And stay as true to that as we can. Okay. All right. So I see a face, and it just, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, what is this? What is this? It almost is kind of almost a surprise face, I think, but like understated, right? And then we have a bird. So we have a message coming through. And we do have we have the emotional waters and it looks like the candle of illumination, but it seems like it's very disjointed. And I think this is based in this emotionality here. So I feel like in some ways you don't exactly know how to feel about something. Something's going on. And this has kind of been maybe deterring you from some of the work that you want to do, and that work is going to bring you to that message coming from the bird. And what the message from the bird is that illuminating information, that spiritual download. Okay, so what this says to me is that you have to focus on kind of figuring out what is this in your life that is kind of, distracting you. You're thinking more about the setup than the actual thing that's going on. Worried about maybe, I don't know exactly, how are you going to make this work? And this is the thing. And this is maybe why I'm not a huge, not that I'm not a fan. I'm not good at doing things like ceremonial magic. Because going through kind of prescribed ritual that has like these kind of formal outfits and, utterances and a series of things, I get so in my head about it. I'm thinking about, what does this thing mean? Like, what are we doing this for? What is this? It feels like role playing to me, and I get self-conscious about it. I feel like I'm in like a play in high school or something. I can't get into it. There's people around, you can do this alone, of course, but my experience with it has been with other people, and I can't get past it, and it takes away the meaning, right? And maybe the thing that you're trying to get to, you're there for. And so, I think this is kind of what I'm trying to get at, is that you're really focused on like, how do I do this? How does one do this right? And you know what? This is very much what happened to me when I first started doing, like tea leaf readings even. I was really worried about memorizing symbols. I had already a pretty good, understanding of a lot of different symbols for a lot of different reasons, mostly from magical work and just my interest in different kinds of esoteria and occultism and things. But You know, I thought, okay, well, I'm gonna do I'm gonna do tea leaf readings, and I gotta memorize what all of these signs mean, these prescribed meanings. Well, if you get books, books of symbols, I think it's important for us to have some relationship with that, to at least read through them, right? But if you read very many different books or encyclopedias of symbols, a lot of them do vary, right? Or there's a lot of overlap. There's a lot of, you know, they're very similar, a lot of the signs. And that's fine or whatever. But for me, it really was it deterred me for years, really, to get really serious about it, because I just was not feeling my relationship with what I was doing. You know, I think I'm a lot more of an intuitive reader. I also just really like to relate to things as I see them. And so once I finally got over that necessity to kind of, oh, I need to do this how people will understand it, you know, exactly the same way for every reader has the same meanings and whatever. Well, that's not the reality of things. That's not, you know, and so, you know, I think it's just about getting out of that, right? You just go with how you feel a lot of times, a lot with the intuition, trusting yourself that you know, and getting past that will help the messaging come through, right? And so, you know, I think that's something to think about is, you know, trying to abandon some of that, you know, trying to meet some kind of formulated thing. Okay, so we have the Earthbound Oracle cards, and I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to stop there. Oh, and it says Arcana. Okay, so, you know, kind of the reverse of what I'm just saying, but also kind of not. I think that going back and reading some of, you know, maybe this is a good time to look at some of the old myths. Look at some of, I really think like world folklore is interesting for any kind of spiritual work, interior work. There are a lot of groups of people that have I mean, just one thing I will say, and I'm not a theosophist, but I think theosophy in general, and this is a very kind of umbrella thing, because there are a lot of different practitioners who have ever been involved in theosophy, a lot of different schools of thought within theosophy. But it is an interesting place and a good keyword to look at when you're Googling things or whatever browser you use, because there are a lot of authors, a lot of people that have written beautiful books, gone over and translated lots of different arcane texts, and written very interesting, you know, books going over a lot of these different kinds of texts. And so theosophy is a really interesting, really good. And I like theosophy because it is not super dogmatic, right? And there's a lot of room for different disciplines and traditions within it. You know, so that's a really interesting place to find some Hermeticism, a lot of these like modern groupings. There's also a website I really like, sacredtext.com, you know, and you can find these, I mean, whatever your preferred way of finding things, but you know, we live in a time where we have so much information at our fingertips. So go and look for something to, you know, study, to read, implement that in some of your spiritual work. Play with it. It doesn't have to be, like I said, it does not have to be serious all the time. You do not have to follow all of the, you know, rules and regulations put forth in some of these texts. They are, you know, they're there, but everything has to be personalized, especially because you have that magician energy, Sagittarius. You are quite literally under this energy, creating your own universe right now. Okay. So, you know, do as feels right. All right, I'm going to go ahead and say thank you so much for spending this time with me. It is always such an honor to be able to bring these messages to you. If you'd be so kind as to like the video, it helps us get into the algorithm, and the algorithm kind of decides everything about what happens with this channel, with all the channels on YouTube. And we thank the algorithm and we love the algorithm. And so we give it the engagement that it wants. And that's stuff like liking the video, sharing the readings on other social media platforms, watching the readings from the beginning to the end. Other than that, if you haven't subscribed yet, please think about doing so. You can hit that little bell. It'll let you know when the next readings are coming out. And if you would like to leave a comment, please do. I read all of them. And they all mean so much to me. They really do. And I want to thank everybody who has offered up their support and prayers for our family. We can really feel those, and I thank you. All right, we will talk again in just a few days, Sagittarius. Have a beautiful eclipse. It should be happening as this video comes out, I think. I don't know what time it's happening, but same day. All right, thank you so much. Bye.